Good morning, everyone. Hope you guys can hear me all right. Let me know in the chat how the audio is. So this is gonna be my first time doing a public stream with this new kind of stream setup. So if there's some like technical issues, you guys gotta let me know. Anything with the audio being too loud or anything like that. All right, audio's good, sick. One of the complaints I got recently was that my stream was like cutting out for people, so they had to like refresh the page a bunch. So let me know if that's happening today, and I'll try to fix it for next time, and I apologize in advance if that happens today. But we should be good. I think the quality is much better than it used to be. You guys can let me know. I used to get so many complaints on the video quality, but I think it's improved a little bit. But yeah, anyways, how's everyone doing? I'm personally so fucking excited to be back. I've been saying this a couple times in the discords and stuff, but I learned that there's such a thing as too long of a vacation. I think 3 weeks off is just too long, dude. 3 weeks off is too long. But yeah, we have so much to cover. The last time I was here, actually the last time I did a public stream, this is where Bitcoin was. We'll get rid of this for now. The last time I did a public stream, this is where Bitcoin was, and we talked about this. And all of this has happened since then. We're kind of right back where we were last stream. So I might echo a bunch of the sentiment from the last time around as far as the high time frame stuff goes. We're gonna echo patience and stuff like that and accumulation ranges and all that, but it's pretty funny how much volatility got put into the market just for Bitcoin to be exactly where it was the last time I streamed. Like at the same time so much has changed, and at the same time nothing has changed. It's kind of fucking hilarious. But right off the bat, we can start with Bitcoin. I think you guys are going to be tired of me giving this kind of same analysis that I've been giving all summer, but it really has been this easy, and it's worked out phenomenally well. So let's get rid of this stuff. I like the cleanliness. All right, so I kind of theorized like 5 months ago. I think in April, 4 months ago, in one of the April streams, we were up here and we lost like the 4-hour trend. And I said something along the lines of, man, what if we just range like we did last year? And I drew out the line where I wanted to buy the dip. And at that time, it was the confluence of two things. It was the weekly trend plus last cycle's range high, right? Weekly range high, the 58K level that caused the turbo dumps both times last cycle, right? Both times that we failed to hold above 58K on the weekly, we absolutely got smoked, right? Both times. So we want to hold above that. So back in April, I was like, this is my buy the dip region. We had a lot of FUD. We had Israel, Iran, stuff like that happening. All coins getting bodied. And this was the region that I wanted to look to buy the dip. And I basically held that as my bias pretty much all summer, that this is the region to hold. And I'm even shocked myself sitting here 4 months later that it's held this well. And we joke about the whole summertime chop, thesis, and just being risk off for a little bit while things calm down, things settle, some froth gets eliminated from markets, some coins come back to valuations that are more enticing to buy. And all of that is pretty much played out. And it's really funny because you'll see sentiment from April go, it's up only, no pullbacks, buy every dip, to May, kind of same thesis, June, July. And it's not until the end of the year, like in the middle of the summer, everyone goes, oh yeah, we'll be back in Q4. We'll be back in Q4, right? And the closer Q4 comes, the more people go, nah, man, it's turbo fucking over, right? Bitcoin's price is manageable. I know alts are down bad, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Like alts are down turbo bad, so that really gives a lot of cadence and validity to the 2019 echo bubble thesis. At least for altcoins, it really has been an echo bubble for the most part, but on Bitcoin and sentiment alone, it's really beautiful to see the mental washout in a range. In years prior and cycles prior, Bitcoin really had to nuke. It had to absolutely brutally nuke in order for altcoins to get just bodied. And now 20% pullbacks, 25% pullbacks. You don't need to go 40 anymore. You don't need to go 50 anymore. That's done enough. And I think a lot of that is owed to the actual new dynamics and growing fundamentals of Bitcoin as a macro asset and an alternative asset to like TradFi. So pretty interesting. Catch up with chat a little bit. It's a boring market anyways. I found volatility pretty good over the last week. I know it's like boring in some senses, but some of this volatility has been really nice to trade, and I'll talk about this trade in a little bit. But I came back and I think we were like right here. Like we got nuked on like a Sunday, and I was like, man, this is terrible. Like this crab is unmanageable. I don't want to trade this. But it's gotten a little bit better. So as long as we have a little bit of volatility to trade, I'll stay happy. If this thing completely flatlines like it did last summer, yeah, I'll agree with you. It'll be pretty damn boring and hard to stay awake. I'm on month 2 before clinic starts up for me. 1 week off and I'm ready to come back. Dude, I think for me 2 is a sweet spot. Like I really enjoyed 2 weeks of vacation, but that last week made me go, it's time to get back to work. I feel like I'm just wasting time now and on vacation for the sake of being on vacation. Agree, I did 3 months in Asia once, missed my friends, family, home comforts. Yeah, you get that homesickness after a while. I was starting to get that. I have a dog that I really missed. My dog, my cats, my house, my desk. As weird as that is, I kind of miss the desk that I'm sitting at right now. It's like I miss the comfort of my chair. But anyways, let's continue with Bitcoin. So we were talking about the weekly chart, right? The last piece of the puzzle, if you guys watched my last stream, which was, I think I did my stream literally down here, like literally at the bottom of this wick. And the two most important things I said during that time was, I'm not in a rush to buy this puke. right? I don't want to be a hero and call bottom and try to action this and say long only, up only, you didn't buy the dip, you're a moron, yada yada. I loudly and proudly said that I will not be the hero of this market trying to call bottom here, right? I was saying that I want to see a sustained period of sideways. Lower volatility versus this extreme volatility that we've had. I want volatility to calm down, number one, and I want a range to form. Like, I don't care about trends. I just want a lower volatility range. And I was equating it to kind of the back end of last summer and the FTX lows, right? I don't know if it's going to ever turn out this perfect. The market, you know, may or may not give me what I want. It doesn't owe me anything. It doesn't have to give me what I want. But that was what I would like to see in order to define my risk for the next risk on phase and up only phase. And now you guys can see we're kind of 2 weeks of just flatline, right? We've been just kind of crabbing around the same price for a little bit. Maybe that ends up being something like this, right? Maybe we can actually put in some constructive bottom where we can get some lower time frame, and maybe not lower time frame, but some actual structural higher highs and higher lows, similar to how we got here, right? A proper reclaim of weekly trends, because we're kind of just crabbing at them right now, maybe a little bit below, but a proper reclaim of these, right? No rush, and then we go from there. I would really like to see this, and I'm hoping we're in that period right now. So that's enough of the kind of Bitcoin theory crafting and stuff like that. I don't really want to do too much of that. I did a lot of that last stream. And I'm not going to tell you guys, hey, go back and watch last stream. But if you're curious, stuff is timestamped. Like, you can actually go in and just watch timestamp stuff. You don't have to scrub through 2 hours of streams. So now that brings us to the elephant in the room, the kind of uncomfortable picture, right? If we take fixed range volume profile tool, right, and develop our 5-month composite, basically where Bitcoin is ranged and traded at for 5 months, we're not only rejecting off the 5-month composite value area low, we're also we are also rejecting underneath the weekly trend. And number 3, we're also rejecting off the daily trend. And you can see how well the daily trend, I'll remove the weekly, has been respected within this range, right? It's been an absolute beast of a like bias forming indicator to use. So are we going to get rejected here and go to 0 or make another lower low or potentially make a higher low? Are we going to form a compression like we did back in May, right? Or are we going to just continue crabbing here? Is anybody's guess. And I'm not going to be the one to try to predict that. What I will give you is the facts. And the facts are that we are bearishly rejecting 3 things at the moment: the weekly trend, the daily trend, and the 5-month composite value area low, right? So am I going to be opening up giga-long swings here, full porting into spot altcoins? No, I think the key here is just to remain patient, right? And if you have watched these streams and kind of heeded my advice over this last, 4 months where I'm just like, take it slow, there's opportunities. I think there was opportunity in here to buy the dip on some really strong altcoins, which I did, like Render and Solana and PEPE, and what else did I do? Ondo, right? And play these bounces, which were unbelievable, right? There's been opportunities in here, but the key of this entire summer has been just take it slow, right? Take it slow. Let Bitcoin lead the way, right? And if you've survived all of this and you've been patient through all of this, I think like you're closer to the finish line. And I personally am getting a little antsy as I see some of these altcoin prices. Like, I can quickly open up PEPE here and I can say, all right, we're down quite a bit. I know that my chart's a little noisy. Let me get rid of some stuff. Right. We're down tremendously, right? We're back at these kind of range lows that we set in March and April. This is starting to look like value to me, right? But I don't need to rush and slam full port spot, in today's prices. I can take it little by little by little and still understand that if we're believing October and Uptober, that's still 40 days away. So we have another 40 days for price action to form accumulation ranges. And remind me if I forget, but accumulation ranges are something I want to talk about today, as far as altcoins go. So if I forget, if someone could remind me. But where was I? Yeah, I think I kind of lost my train of thought of what I was saying there, but more or less, Bitcoin's bearish, and oh yeah, that was what I wanted to say. My focus has been on intraday and intra-week trades, right? I don't really like. I understand what the high time frame picture is telling me. I understand that it's bearish. I understand that we're rejecting off the daily trend. I understand that, you know, we could be reclaiming these significant levels such as 58K, but for the time being, we're just crabbing around, and I still think the volatility is really good, right? Look at these highs to lows. These are still 5, 6, 7% moves. These are enough to capitalize on if you just want to actively trade. And since I've been home, we've gotten good volatility, so that's what I want to focus on. Let me let my cat out, and I'll talk about some Bitcoin trades right now. Catch up with chat quickly. All right, not a lot of chatters today. All good. If it's more than 2 weeks, it needs to be multiple cities or countries. Yeah, that's pretty much what I did. I did a bunch of cities, a bunch of countries. Oh, 3 countries, but a bunch of cities within them. We're bouncing around a lot. I think why I got a little fatigued is because of the constant bouncing around. Cat rules the house with an iron fist. It's just, you know, when the door is like cracked open, obviously he can just push the door open, but if I like fully close it, he can't open it. So he just sits there and cries by the door, like, open it. So either I have to keep listening to him meow or just gotta listen to the cat. All right, anyways. So what I see on Bitcoin right now is a series of higher highs and higher lows on a 4-hour chart, right? So I'm looking at this as a massive reclaim. This gray level right here, let me mark this out and why I have it marked out for you guys. It's the first 4-hour demand into our current range, right? So this was a very key level for me, going back to the April correction, right? I was marking out this level right here. The reason I had this marked out was just a little bit of game theory, and that game theory was a lot of people want to long this wick, and a lot of people want to long 53K. And if you guys remember me on the timeline mocking people that are going to get perfect fills at 53K, I was like, you're not going to get these. Everyone and their mother can see 53K consolidation on a high time frame chart. You guys are all bidding the same location. None of you guys are going to get filled, right? So what I did was just, you know, game theory and be like, okay, people that want to long this wick are probably going to get stop run. People that want to long down here 53K are probably going to get front run. The next most obvious location is right around 57, this 4-hour demand block before our current range, right? And it worked out really well. It was kind of the exact same thing I said. People that longed in this location got stop run. We ended up at, you know, 57K. This has worked decently well. And right now, price action is respecting this level really, really nicely. You know, a good rejection, an expansion through, a retrace. And I'm hoping that this is our higher low. So blasting through, set a high, set a higher low. We're looking for a higher high. This morning, I got alerts at 3 a.m. I don't know if you guys can see my doodle. Darken it up here. Looking for a little bit of a stop run at these lows back into the 57 level. I got front run. I woke up at 3, waiting for these fills, seeing if this would break down. It reclaimed. I did not grab the long, so I'm not in a Bitcoin long right now, but I'm very interested in getting long Bitcoin because I do think all Bitcoin did, and I talked about this in the Paragon Outlook. I don't know how many Paragon members are here in the live stream, but we talked about this yesterday in the Outlook about how off the weekly open or futures open, we could get a stop run of all these weekend lows, all of these weekend lows, right? And I was hoping that we would bottom either kind of close to this region or down here. And funny enough, kind of like what I explained on the high time frame, Bitcoin did the funny thing where it just wants to bottom in between, right? The two most obvious levels are going to be the most congested. One you stop run, one you front run, and it bottoms in between. So it kind of did the exact same thing in this region. Front ran where I wanted to bid. But nonetheless, I do think we're bullish for this week. It would be phenomenal if this was the low for the week or if we run this one more time. But either way, my bias is bullish on this low time frame, right? Whether or not this low, let's get rid of the squiggle again. Whether or not this low was the low for the week, I couldn't tell you at the current time because of how choppy and illiquid the market is. but I could see that being the case. And if not, and we get one more stop run, maybe with Jackson Hole, because Jackson Hole's this week, and we get some volatility around that, and we get this kind of like triple low stop run back into 57, I think that's going to be where I open some swing longs, aiming for 62K, or excuse me, 60.2K with these equal highs, right? Potentially all the way up to range high. But this would be the obvious trade that I would want to take. Right, if something like this came along. Something like this. Let's take a look at the hourly trend. So the hourly trend has been the most respected trend over the last few days. Going into the weekend, really clean trend respect. Right now, squeezing above the hourly trend once again. I think there's a case to be made, right? That this was the bottom, like I said a little bit earlier, right? And if this was the bottom, the last kind of challenge is getting back above this hourly trend. Like reclaiming this hourly trend right here would look really, really good. And you could define your risk on losing the hourly trend once again. If we are just going to reclaim this and start respecting it once again, your invalidation for playing trend continuation would be basically off the basis of this guy right here. Move my cursor back to black. Welcome to the 2028 bull run. 3 years to accumulate. I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that. We'll move on to Solana in a minute. Should we talk about Solana first, or should I do altcoins? I think a lot of you guys are just going to be super interested in hearing about altcoins, but I'll probably get the Solana trade out of the way first. Let me grab a sip of water real quick. All right. Adam says Sol too. Let's go. I agree. So Solana. This is the only long I'm in right now because it's the highest conviction one that I saw in the market. Multiple reasons for this. We can start from the high time frame. Solana is the only coin that I follow in my watch list, I think. Maybe, maybe not. That is still respecting or trying to respect the weekly trend, right? Kind of unbelievable that we're still holding here, right? After running all these lows, right? So we stop ran all of the lows within the range. We reclaimed, we closed within the weekly trend both of the last 2 weeks. To me, this is the strongest asset in the market. And if there's one that I'm going to long, it's going to be the strongest asset in the market, right? I'm just a strength respecter at the end of the day. So number two, right? If we ignore the weekly trend here, number two is going to be the yearly VWAP. Now, I don't know how well you guys can see this, but this green line here is your yearly VWAP, right? Solana has been respecting the yearly VWAP numerous times in this range. Once again, where price is right now, Sol reclaiming and retesting the yearly VWAP, right? So we've got two confluent factors for us. Number three, let's get rid of this. The low to the high of this bounce, if we take a range tool or fib tool or whatever you want to call it, literally 50% retrace, right? So it's a mid-range or the mid of this high to this low, or this low to this high, right? And lastly, right at that mid-range, you have liquidity, right? And I know, you know, you'd have to pull out a magnifying glass to see this, but we did run this low by just like pennies or fractions of a penny. It did trade below this low for a minute. The reason I know that is I had an alert there, and the alert went off, so that's how I know. You can also like scope in times 1,000 and find it trading under that low. So the thesis for this trade, and I was covering it kind of on the timeline and tweeting it out, was if we're going to bottom in this location for all the locations, or all of the reasons I just mentioned, all the high time frame reasons I just mentioned, we need to break this 4-hour downtrend, right? Now, the 4-hour downtrend break can, you know, you can action this in two ways. One is a compression, If you guys want to learn about the compression trade, I like have a video on it in Paragon. I'll probably do another video to make it even cleaner. But the compression trade is basically pushing into a low time frame structure, whether it's a VWAP, an EMA, or anything, after using a high time frame structure as support. So use a high time frame structure as support, you compress into a low time frame structure, that gives you a pop, right? It's more or less what we got here. So you can action it on the compression, or you can action it closer to that high time frame level. So my thesis for actioning it down here was, if we're going to break this downtrend of lower highs and lower lows and lower highs and lower lows, we need to set a higher low, right? That's obvious. So where's that higher low going to form? Somewhere in this region. This is where I longed, and I said, I am incorrect if we make another lower low, right? If we make another lower low, I'm wrong on this idea. So therefore, I'm willing to set my stop here. And the last piece of the puzzle that I told you guys about on the timeline was we need to break this 4-hour downtrend, right? And we did slam through that 4-hour downtrend. You know, the weekly open was a bit of a shakeout. I was a little bit concerned about this trade last night. Like I mentioned, I woke up at 3 in the morning to try to get long Bitcoin, but at that exact same time, I got long Sol. Like, I added to the position on Sol after trading through this through the weekend. And the reason for taking significant profits on the weekend is, well, it's the weekend, and you know, I have enough history now in crypto to know whenever you get these weekend moves, they often retrace pretty hard. So got this fill on Solana, you know, sweeping kind of the weekend low, and I'm liking the push up here. I think we do take these equal highs towards the top. So if you are sidelined on this, like, we can talk about this now. If you wanted to get into this trade, I would use the confluence once again of kind of weekly open, right? The weekly open this week, if we're going to stay bullish, we already ran underneath the weekly open. We're trading above it now. We want to hold into that region. So any kind of retraces back into like 144, 143, probably a really good place to add to a position, or long Solana, with your invalidation probably being this low right here, right? Look for these equal highs and an overshoot towards daily trends, right? Daily trends, and this is kind of the CPI wick from last week. So it's a rogue wick that was created on CPI day. That's my ultimate target. Maybe a little bit of an overshoot of CPI wick back into this point of breakdown. So we'll see how it plays out. That's kind of the Solana trade from high time frame down to low time frame. Sorry about that. I assumed that was really loud. Yeah, this is really nice this morning. Big slam down, liquidity grabbed, inefficient move. I was really hoping though to get filled on Bitcoin as well. I'm a little bit upset about this getting front run. It's okay because we're long Solana and Solana's outperforming Bitcoin, but yeah, I would much rather have been, or much preferred to get long filled on both. Am I high for thinking whiff is the play, even though the chart looks suspect? No, I don't think so. I actually like whiff a lot. I know the chart is turbo destroyed, but I'm a fan of whiff, mainly because I think it's the best meme that CT's ever created. I haven't been here super long, right? This is kind of, you can consider this my first official bull market, especially with CT. But during this time, man, we have like a lot of memes. Like, we joke around a lot, like a lot of inside jokes and stuff, but the one that really caught fire as far as like a tokenized meme was whiff. Like, I've never seen something get memed so hard on my timeline. And now it's up to whiff to prove whether it's a Lindy asset or not, right? And all you want to see, I'm too lazy right now, but I could pull up some like clout posting tweets where I talked about what I want to see on whiff. Like when we were up here, I was basically saying I want whiff to form a 6-month accumulation, just range down here for a really, really long period of time. And what that's doing is positively repricing the asset, right? You've taken an asset that's worth pennies to dollars to $100 to whatever, marked it all the way up to 4-something billion. And the market has been willing now over an extended period of time to continue to support this asset at a newfound price. I don't know what the current market cap is. I'm just going to assume, for the sake of assuming, that's around $1 billion, right? We took an asset that was worth nothing 6 months ago or to a year ago. We marked it up to 4 billion, and the market is now coming in and choosing to buy this at a new cost basis of 1 billion. Therefore, I do think this is a good opportunity, right? This is the opportunity for WIF to prove that it is a Lindy coin. All it really needs to do is something like this over an extended period of time. Once you break out of this range, I don't think any of this supply right here is going to matter. I think you're going to get an absolute monster shot, probably to all-time highs in a very quick amount of time, especially when the market's risk on. I'm personally really bullish WIF. I don't have a big bag, but you know, my kind of patience has paid off. Like, I've tried to a few times here and there action, buy some spot, sell some spot, like that. I don't have a big bag at the moment. I couldn't tell you whether $1 is going to be taken, right? These equal lows down here. I couldn't tell you if we're going to run these equal lows or not. All I want to see, like I've mentioned, is a long period of accumulation. And this is going to be a common theme for this stream today, is all altcoins need to do something like this and flip weekly trends, right? So here's your weekly trends, which are just now forming on WIF. They're sloped downwards. WIF needs to continue to range, flip these weekly trends, flip them bullishly, break out of this range, and then we'll be on our merry way. So I think you have time. You know, I personally believe, I have to say, like, in one line, hey Doc, where do you think the market's at? I think altcoins are like 95% of the way to bottom, if the bottom is not already in. Right? If the bottom is not already in on WIF, it's probably just going to run this low by a couple percent, and that's pretty much it, right? I think 95% of the downside is in if it's not already in, and the last thing to do with the market is just time-based capitulate people, right? Run this sideways, form new bullish, or first of all, form an accumulation range, form new bullish market structure, reclaim weekly trends, reclaim daily trends, and then we can start a new market cycle. I'm actually going to pull up a tweet that I did showing kind of what I meant on render. If I can remember what that was called. Okay, yeah, I found it. Let's see if I can put this here. All right, I can't grab it. I don't know what's wrong, but I can't grab it. I'll just pull up the exact same chart and show you guys. So this is more or less what altcoins look like right now, right? This is more or less what all charts look like. They're down turbo bad. Like, this is render down 60% last summer. I know coins are probably down like 70 or 80%, but nonetheless, it's the same kind of situation of parabolic markup, kind of complacency, big breakdown, loss of trends, loss of structure, bearish market structure, right? And what we did on a coin like Render, right? Number one, we reclaimed the daily trend. Number two, we reclaimed the weekly trend. Number three, we put in fresh bullish daily market structure, right? Even if you're missing these lows, right, and you action a trend reclaim into bullish market structure, reclaiming points of breakdown, you're handed with the actual move that you want to get, right? These are the moves that we live for in crypto, right? We don't care about the 10, 20, 30% off the lows in the accumulation ranges. Everyone lives and breathes for the 2Xs and the 3Xs and the 4Xs, right? The big parabolic moves, the trends, essentially. And I think every single coin in this market is somewhere in this regime, right? I think every coin is somewhere right here. And whether or not we quickly can reverse this over the next month or two, or we range longer before this new bullish market bullish price action forms, I couldn't tell you. I can't predict this. But I'm more optimistic than your fellow man as far as the market looks right now. Sol is super strong, yeah. Hi, Doc. Is the clinic open for Discord invites? No, the clinic is not open ever again, pretty much, unless special cases. Clinic is going to be private for good. I actually kicked, so if any of you guys are listening and you were in the clinic and you got kicked, it's because you were inactive. We had like, I don't know, at the highest, like 1,500 members. And you know, I noticed that a bunch of people are inactive, so I just kept pruning. Like, there's a feature in the clinic that's just called prune, so I just kept pruning, and eventually ended up kicking like 1,000 members or something like that. I'm just gonna keep it short, tight, and sweet in the clinic with a bunch of people that are grinding every single day and active every single day. Wifan Al Gaib, I missed that meme, dude. I sent CZ a whiff hat in jail. Hope he walks out with it. That's hilarious. Bitcoin's pumping? Very nice. That means Solana's pumping. Yeah, man, I'm bitter about missing this one, but oh well. H&T? Sure. Yeah, Whiff just feels to me like the chosen one. Well, PEPE's the chosen one. Let's get that straight. PEPE's the chosen one. Whiff is the chosen one on CT. And the reason PEPE is going to continue beating Whiff is because the masses have submitted to another dog coin the 10th of its name, right? It's just like in a long heritage of dog coins. Yes, I do like admit that Whiff is more unique than every other dog coin. I do like the meme a little bit more, but nonetheless, it's just a dog coin at the end of the day. It's destined to do well. I do think PEPE is the chosen one. This coin and this meme is the Mickey Mouse of the internet, man. It's the biggest meme on the internet. It deserves to flip SHIB. It deserves to flip Doge even one day. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but it deserves it. AVAX back one day? I don't think so. I don't think AVAX has done anything to excite anyone ever this cycle. I don't think it would be back. Oh, you can always tell the market cap of Whiff from its price because $1 billion market cap is $1. Oh, good advice. Or good looks. I like that. The devs made it super easy then. XRP. Bags. I'll do Rune for you, though. Look at H&T. Rune or something. I think Bags is long Rune. If I'm caught up with Bags lore. I'm glad you clarified PEPE as the meme. Absolutely, man. PEPE will flip Doge this cycle. I don't know about that. It'll flip SHIB, but I don't know about Doge. At least I have high confidence it'll flip SHIB. I don't know about Doge, dude. Let me look at this real quick. Because I think Doge is going to have its own proper echo bubble. Right? Like, I think Doge trades into like 45. And what does that put that market cap at? That's probably like 40 billion market cap. If this was 80 billion or 70 billion at the high. Oh, maybe Doge has the same kind of market cap to price ratio as Whiff. Maybe it's the same kind of situation, but I think Doge like peaked at like 70 billion last cycle. So if it gets to like 45 cents, that'll be like 45 billion. I don't know if I see PEPE going to 45 billion. To be honest. I mean, that would be insane. Maybe I'm just not bullish enough. Maybe I can't dream big enough. Bags longing? No way. I know, dude. He's Bear Shira. Probably biased, but so many Zoomers describe others as NPC meme. Seems like it'd be a second tier meme play. Yeah, man. I've been hearing about NPC a lot. I'm gonna look at this real quick. Because I was bullish like Wojak. You guys remember, well, maybe a couple of you guys remember that I was bullish Wojak, and people kept asking me like, Doc, have you seen the MPC chart? Have you seen the MPC chart? And I think that's just like my boomerism showing where like, I'm just like, yeah, like, come on, like Wojak's the meme, not MPC. Like MPC is like a derivative of Wojak, but this is kind of the chosen meme so far. It looks great. It's marked up quite a bit. It's forming a range. A couple of people have asked me about MPC, of like where I would buy this, and I'd buy this as close to these range lows as possible. It's given us a couple opportunities, but I do think with this kind of like deviation here, and this possibly being a lower high, if it does roll down back to like 10, I think this is where you accumulate MPC. There is no second best meme. I agree, man. Just need Coinbase to list PEPE. Coinbase probably lists PEPE when we're in absolute mania mode. You know, I remember, it's going to be kind of embarrassing, but I remember being like bullish on Cardano last cycle. I didn't know any better, guys. I didn't know any better. Okay, so leave me alone. But I remember being bullish on Cardano last cycle, and I bought some spot. I don't even remember where. Really exactly somewhere in this run up. I was really late. I didn't buy any of these. I bought like somewhere in like January or something like that in this region, and I was even upset because I had to buy it on like Binance US or something, or no, Gemini. I kind of forgot where. I think I bought it. No, not on Gemini. Kraken. I think I bought Cardano on Kraken because Coinbase hadn't listed it, and I think Coinbase listed Cardano like all the way up here. So this is a top 10 coin by market cap already. Like Cardano was already in the top 10 by market cap up here, and it wasn't listed on Coinbase. So it's the same with like TON right now. I think TON is top 10 by market cap, not listed on Coinbase. There's probably other coins that are way up there, not listed by Coinbase. And then Coinbase listed all of these like shitters in the actual like frothy part of the bull market, right? So I'm expecting kind of similar for PEPE, is like the Coinbase listing comes like probably Q2 of like next year or something like that, like literally somewhere at the top. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Giga. Giga, everyone's talking about right now because it's up, right? That no one asks you about their coins until they're turbo up or turbo down, right? Those are the two times people ask, like, will my bag be okay? Or is this the new, is this the, you know, second coming of Jesus? Okay, I would need to see more price history. I'll get back to this in a minute. Let me finish with chat. Hey, at least 40% of my trades are longs. I agree with that, dude. I see you longing plenty. It's just funny that you have the bear team 6 kind of reputation. I agree though. At a certain point, bear posting is kind of more fun than bull posting. Being a doomer is kind of fun, but only if you're doing it like kind of like ironically. Like you don't actually want to see this market go to zero and this industry go to zero, but it's fun being like a fake bear, at least for me. Billy F. 42 is $20 billion market cap. 69 is $30 billion market cap. 1 is $42 billion oh my god. Is that really true? 42 is $20 billion market cap. 69 is $30 billion market cap. And 1 is $42 billion market cap. That's incredible, dude. Pepe has been memed to death. Like, it's so funny here too. Let me pull this up real quick before we move on. The yearly VWAP on Pepe was 69. The yearly VWAP on Pepe is 69. Too funny how well these things work out. I do think like 42 is like a pretty legitimate target to like sell whatever that is, 20 billion or something. Yeah, that's a good point. Same when they listed Doge near the high. I think so, yeah, for Coinbase, 100%. Bobo is hilarious. Bobo is quite possibly one of the funniest memes. I think it's honestly in some ways funnier than Pepe memes. Honestly, I wonder if Bobo is going to be like a banger trade for the bear market. Like, if the market is like ripping to the highs, right, and we put in like a complacency shoulder and start bleeding out, I wonder if like the Bobo meme just starts going absolutely parabolic. Someone timestamp this so we can come back to it and I can claim clout in a year for being right about that. Good evening, Whip. Solana has better market structure than Bitcoin. Hard to see what nukes Solana below 120s range low. If all Bitcoin does is make a higher low around 52. To be honest, I think Bitcoin doesn't lose 54K. Good points. I did want to talk about a little bit on Solana, Bitcoin, and maybe a little bit of game theory as far as like final capitulation goes. So if I forget to mention that, I'm getting a little like backlogged right now. If I forget to mention that, remind me. I want to cover that kind of thesis on why I think Solana could go to potentially double digits quickly. But I know we have to do HNT, and maybe there's one more thing. Methinks $100 Sol is very unlikely to happen. Man, I couldn't tell you, but I can give you the case of why it could happen. Just need a few KOLs to push that BOBO idea. I'm actually kind of sad that that's what it's come to. Like, you actually need people to shill coins in order for them to do well. Like, I think maybe one of the reasons Wojak's underperforming, there's no social media presence for this coin whatsoever. Like, there's no one shilling this coin, probably except for me. And that's not me, like, getting insider deals in coins. That's just me, like, buying it on the market and being like, this coin looks good. Why wouldn't it work out? And it did really well for a while. But, yeah, you'll see, like, coins like Giga and NPC and other coins doing super well because they have so many, like, just shitcoin influencers turbo bull posting those bags. I really don't like that. Like, if you ask me, I think cults should be strong, the community should be strong, but I hate the idea of a cult leader. If your coin needs a cult leader, I don't like it. PEPE's got no cult leader, dude. That's one of my favorite things about PEPE. There's no, like, quote-unquote cringe or KOL, like, fucking presence for PEPE. It's just PEPE. All right, what do you think about MOG, especially... I don't know what WRT means. PEPE. Is the meme too niche? I mean, it's fine. I don't really have like a fundamental thesis on MOG. It's just a trade and it's a chart. This is something that I told someone a while ago, that you don't want to see MOG trading back to 12 if we tag here. I think someone asked me about MOG up here, and I was like, your best bet is to buy the last demand block for an expansion, and then you do not want to see this tagged again. And lo and behold, we're here. I wouldn't be surprised if MOG sells off more, right? We're at 99. Yeah, the accumulation range on MOG is probably going to be somewhere in here. I would hope that you wouldn't drop all the way back to 4, because if you did, this means probably forever cooked. And the reason I say that it's forever cooked, you never want a coin to put in a turbo accumulation range like this, mark up all the way, and not be able to find a new accumulation range higher, right? The goal for any repriced asset is to form higher accumulation ranges. If you have to come all the way back down to the prior accumulation range, in my opinion, your coin's cooked. So that's what I can just say off the chart alone. Like, at best, you'll range. You might put in a lower high. If you put in a higher high, it's probably going to be for selling, right? You're not going to... It's not a, like, Lindy priced asset. It's not something that somebody's coming to chase that could put parabolic moves above prior highs, right? I would say it does something like this. Like, that's the bull case for MOG off of these lows, because, once again, it would probably be like a 5-10x move, right? Yeah, this is a 6x move. If we retrace all the way back down to 4, back to all-time highs, that's a 5x move. Let's say you overshoot a little bit, 5-6x. People are going to be up so much money, they'll probably be turbo dumping. I think this is going to be around $1 billion market cap anyways. Oh, with respect to. Gotcha. WRT is with respect to. All right, let me go to HNT, because I promised someone and I forgot. So I think HNT had the perfect setup off of weekly trend and daily trend confluence like a couple weeks ago. I think it had like the most banger setup you can imagine. But I didn't action this, but it was brought to my attention. And this was it right here, right? Let's, are any of these important? Some really old drawings. So, okay, HNT is coming into super high time frame resistance, right? Support before a big breakdown, resistance, deviation, big, you know, big sell-off both times that like $7 was lost, massive sell-off, resistance, deviation, and we're coming into it right now. So massive level of resistance. You probably don't want to chase here, right? You probably don't want to be the guy that's like, oh my God, everyone's talking about HNT. It's the only coin that's going up. I need a position I have to buy here, right? I don't think that's the proper thing to do. But just for educational sake, I want everyone to pay attention to this because you're going to get these setups in the coming months. It's not going to be on HNT, but it's going to be on other assets you like, where, you know, what are we talking about today? Accumulation ranges and reclaiming trends. So all of your favorite coins are going to do this at some point, where it's going to break through these daily trends and weekly trends, and it's going to test them from the top side. And if you're able to retest this, you know, bullishly, look at the move that you get. This is the move that you can action and everyone can action, I think. I think everyone has the capability to action this kind of a move. And I know this wick is a little bit scary. You don't have to buy this wick. You know, you can wait for something to get formed on these trends and then action it later. Find a lower time frame and validation. But these are really, really, really good signals, right? And don't come around very often. Once a year, maybe, you know? And you want to take advantage of these because they're very easy trades to action. So that's really all I want to say about HNT. I gave you a banger setup and it's trading into resistance right now. I don't really make a habit on my streams to like go into the 1 hour time frames and give you guys like entry, stop, take profit triggers. I don't think that's not really educational either, right? That's like spoon feeding how you should trade. And, you know, I think there's more value that I can give you guys along these lines versus just spoon feeding trades. Yeah, if RWA comes back in Q4, HNT should do really well. Is HNT RWA? HNT was deep in it, I thought. There's a daily FEG around 5 to 550. Yeah, right here. It's a high time frame level as well. Probably confluent with the weekly trend as well. So what you could action if this turns into distribution and the daily trend is lost and you trade below here and this comes up, you would get a nice gap fill and you could probably buy in this region around $5 again and look for that move, the next move to break out above 8. We'll see if that happens. Otherwise, you know, big breakthrough of 8, maybe retest here, invalidation, right? These are high time frame moves you could make around HNT. This is not a region where I think you should be like actioning. Might be greedy. Yeah, I agree. It could be greedy, 100%. So the thing that you could do is play the breakout. I did this with HNT and it failed on me. I actually bought HNT somewhere. I forget where. Oh yeah, I think it was right here. I think it was like $7 or $8. I tweeted this out whenever this happened in March, right? That I was like, I'm buying some spot HNT off this weekly trend tag right here after the gap fill. I forget what my exact setup was, but I assume there was something like that. And it basically just bled through and I cut this. But the idea was, hey, we're reclaiming this level. Confluent with like weekly trends. This could be a good buy the dip region. So you could kind of look for something like that to try to form again. Oh dear, Sol turned very sour very quick. Did it? I doubt it. No, that is not a cute wick. Yes, it indeed did. Sometimes I get irritated when I stream because I'm like, man, I could be trading this, but oh well. It is what it is. Brett with Crash. You want me to look at the Brett coin? I don't know about that, man. I'm not a fan of that coin. I'm not a fan of memes that are VC coins. Coinbase is actually low-key goated. They're there to provide PEPE exit liquidity. I wonder if the Coinbase listing is going to be the turbo top for PEPE, or it brings in that last wave of retail where we get our final parabola afterwards. Because it was kind of the same for WIF, right? We thought the WIF listing on like Binance was going to be the top, and WIF did like sell off a little bit, and then it like absolutely went ham afterwards. So like the Binance listing for WIF wasn't the turbo top. We'll see though. On the flip side, though, the influencer shitcoins can make for excellent short-term holding and trading, especially if you have the time and stay connected to X, Twitter, Telegram. Yeah. I understand. Yeah. The breakout longers never fails. Yeah. I'm not a fan of doing that. The way that I like to take breakout longs, if I have to take a breakout long, is like with a clear-cut invalidation, right? So like if something is compressing like this, right, and it's pressed up against resistance and you get a candle and you want to action this candle, you basically make a super close, like, clear-cut invalidation of like, well, if we're breaking out here after testing this resistance level like 9 times, we don't need to perfectly retest. Like, why would we need to come down here? I'm probably wrong and it's probably super weak and I just got baited at the top, but it's a trade just like any other, right? Where you're just buying with this really strong invalidation of like, okay, if I'm going to break out long this, I need this to continue. I need people to come chase. I don't want a perfect retrace. I want like a half of the expansion to be retraced, not a full retrace back to, you know, prior range highs. So you could action stuff like that. Like similar to this on Solana, right? A bunch of resistance at this level, right? And if you're breakout longing, you're basically saying, okay, we can't come back and retest. We have to close up here, right? We have to close up here. We can only retrace a little bit. And, you know, we're wrong if we retrace the whole thing. So, you know, people that break out long and just like hold this all the way into a stop like that, that is actually very dumb. Never do that. Okay. Let's take a step back. Let's talk about Solana versus Bitcoin and why Solana could get bodied one last time. So, we all know this picture. Solana is the goated coin this cycle. It is the absolute goat. It is the strongest coin. It is probably the fundamentally best coin. It's the most used coin. All the metrics are going up only. All the fundamentals are going up only. The usage stats are up only. Everyone's on Solana. Nobody cares about ETH. Sol Bitcoin looks good. Sol ETH looks good. Sol ETH just hit all-time highs, right? We get all that. Here's where the game theory comes in. And I tweeted this out yesterday, and it's kind of like, well, Bitcoin corrected 20 to 30% or nuked 20 to 30% 3 or 4 times this summer. Meme coins are down 70 to 80%. Things are down turbo bad, right? We had macro FUD. Indexes corrected 10%. The trenches have dried up, right? Everywhere you look across the market, things are bad. You know, altcoins have retraced 80 to 90%. You have coins like Sui, basically full retracing. Tia, fully retracing. Like all these coins that people were bullish on, fully retracing. Rune, one of the best leaders of this market so far, almost fully retracing. Near had a big time in the spotlight, fully retracing. I think AVAX kind of the same thing, right? So what is the last bastion of hope in these markets? It's Solana. This is the one coin that has not been touched. People that have parked cash in Solana are fine. People that are trading the trenches and taking money back into Solana, they're fine. People that have bought Solana down here are fine. People that bought Solana down here are fine. People that bought Solana down at the range lows, they're fine, right? Anyone who's bought Solana is totally okay, right? Unless you literally bought this Pico top, which I'm sure there's some, but that's probably not the overwhelming majority of people. I think the overwhelming majority of people that are in Solana bought somewhere in here, right? They bought somewhere in here on the way up. And also they've been, you know, trading in the trenches and they take their money back to Solana. So a lot of people have spot Solana. I think if you really want to lay the hammer down as far as destroying the sentiment before the next up only, you have to damage Solana. This has nothing to do with the chart, but can you imagine if the weekly trend is lost, right? This is rounding over a little bit. This is not trending the same way. This is forming more of a range. If you start accepting below this weekly trend, who's to say this can't just bleed out a little bit, right? And maybe we bottom down here. But this could put the fear of God into people, right? I don't know how low this could go, but this is from a pure like sentiment kind of game theory perspective. If you really want to absolutely nuke people's last bastion of hope and being like, I'm safe nowhere. I literally can't find safety in this market. And what they'll do is they'll take their Solana, which is their best performing asset, their safest asset, the asset they felt safe in, and they will sell their Solana into US dollars and be like, I don't know what to do. And that would be the last straw on the camel's back of like complete capitulation across markets. Because if you take an altcoin, like let's use WIF for example. Like, I think WIF sentiment capitulation has already happened. I think people are already, like, no one's really upset about WIF. People have just kind of accepted their fate. They're like, yeah, it's down bad. It's down so fucking bad. I should have taken profits. I should have listened to Don Alt. I should have done this. I should have done that. Yada, yada, yada. I round-tripped so much. They've just kind of hit acceptance. They're just kind of like, all right, yeah, if it trades down to 80 or 70, who cares, right? I don't think people are turbo, like, I have to leave this market if WIF comes back to these lows. I don't think that's going to get people to just say, fuck all this. I think the people that have already gone through that cycle of like, fuck everything, I'm out on WIF, like, they left. Whoever's still surviving down here, they don't really care, right? I think you can make that same argument for pretty much every altcoin, like Sui or Say or anything like that. Like, anyone that's kind of ridden this wave all the way up and all the way down, they've just hit acceptance. Either they've capitulated somewhere already, or they're holding down here and they're like, yeah, whatever, right? I don't think they can mentally be hurt. But where you can absolutely destroy souls is if you hurt Solana. This would be the last capitulation in markets. Show people 95, 98. Just show them double digits. I guarantee you they would be in absolute panic. And that's my ramble on that. And the way that you would basically be super cautious on this is if we just lose that mid-range, that yearly VWAP, and this daily 200 that I talked about earlier in the stream when I was talking about the Solana trade, right? So lose the yearly VWAP, lose the daily 200, lose this mid-range of this last move. You'll probably trade down to the 120s. You'll probably take this low. And if Bitcoin is pushing for, you know, back towards 53, let's say we get rejected here. Like, again, I talked about Bitcoin at the top of the stream. Let's say we get rejected here once again, and whether or not we make equal lows or a lower low or a higher low, this pressure right here, this 15% move, Solana's already sitting like on the edge of the world. Like, it's already sitting here, right? It'll get dumpstered, right? It'll get absolutely dumpstered. So let's see how that plays out. Solana nuking will destroy your souls. Hey, pun not intended, but let's take that. Okay, is there any topics that I missed that we talked about earlier where I was like, I'll get to this, and I forgot? Just sell your soul. I don't know if that was a typo on purpose and there's a joke I'm missing there, Magus, but I feel you. Trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to cover for this stream, or we should just kind of move into like Q&A and chart requests and stuff. What's your Bitcoin cycle top numbers? I really don't have one, dude. I really don't have one, and nor do I care, because to me, some notes from an old educational video from Paragon. To me, it doesn't matter. I don't care. Let me give you an example of why I don't care. Bitcoin breaks out of this range, right? Bitcoin will lead. Altcoins, you know, like Bitcoin dominance will lead. Bitcoin will be the market leader. Bitcoin will have a correction somewhere. This correction, everyone's not going to bid Bitcoin and the leaders. They're going to bid altcoins, turbo risk, memes, and everything like that. Whether Bitcoin tops at 110, 90, 85, 150, it doesn't matter, because the maximum value extraction is going to come from the rest of the market, and it's pretty much going to follow this dynamic. It's going to be Bitcoin breaks out of the range, Bitcoin leads, Bitcoin has correction, on correction, everyone, this will probably be the Bitcoin dominance top. Bitcoin dominance will top. Everyone will move into turbo risk, as we always do. We always do this thing where we, even in 2023, even in this 2024 cycle, when Bitcoin has a correction, people start turbo bidding risk. The trenches open up, everything like that. This is where the 99% of your money is, whatever, I'm exaggerating numbers. This is where the overwhelming bulk of your gains for the cycle will be made. It really doesn't matter if Bitcoin you know, tops at 85, 95, 105, 150, 180, because you're not in Bitcoin anyways. I guarantee you your portfolio is not more than 50% Bitcoin. So I know that's not the answer you were looking for. If I have to just randomly guess, I would say like 130 or something. Another 2x from here. 120, 110, 130. If I have to absolutely guess. You're one eye on a stream, so I'll tell you some Slack, yeah. And I thought you were filming a documentary. Magus is doing his free educational, noob educational stuff. I've seen you posting about it a little bit, which is super kind. That's stuff that people really appreciate when they first come into markets. Like, there is a lot of noob education out there, but not a lot of people want to do that. Like, especially when you get later and later and later in your journey, you kind of don't want to go back and start teaching basics. You want to teach what like inspires you, and also what you're actively learning alongside. Like, if you learn something over the last 6 months, you go, hey, this would be really fun to do a video on. But like, going back to ABCs doesn't always seem fun. So we thank Magus for doing that for all the newbies out there. Magus joins stream and market, instantly starts rugging, dude. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Mag. Didn't even let me TP any of this morning's longs on Solana. Just amazing. Woke up at 3 a.m. to grab this long on Solana just to not TP here because I'm streaming. Does anyone give a damn about ETH anymore? I'm honestly curious. Like, no one talks about it anymore, but also, I'm going to take that back. I muted ETH on CT. So I have ETH muted for like the last week and a half. So actually, it seems quiet to me, but also I have it muted. So that's probably why. There's probably just as much ETH cope going on, but I just don't see it anymore. You care about hating on it. Amazing. I mean, it doesn't get much cleaner though. Like, screw the asset you're trading. If ETH does a double bottom back into like the 1900s, 2Ks, something like this, I mean, you just load the boat on spot. Like, that is okay. Yeah, it was an echo bubble. Like, understandable. You had an accumulation, you popped up, you retraced. The only thing you're trying to do is set a higher low accumulation range. Here's your old one. If this is your new one, perfect. Action this. Breakout of high time frame EMAs, right? Once these get reclaimed, the daily will guide you. We'll probably expand once again, just like we did right here. But I think the risk to reward of buying ETH down here is just too good to pass up. I don't think ETH is dead. I don't think ETH is fundamentally terrible. I don't think Solana came in and just, you know, made ETH completely irrelevant. You know, price leads narrative. And ETH price been bad, Solana price been good. That's really dictating everyone's emotions and sentiments and stuff like that. I do think this is a good opportunity to buy ETH down here. Yeah, I appreciate that, Simple Break, dude. If you guys could hit the like, I'd appreciate that, man. I don't show the likes too much. Also, actually, never mind. Save that. Perhaps ETH is useful mostly as a barometer of when to buy PEPE. I'll tell you from being a PEPE maxi over the last year, ETH has not mattered to PEPE whatsoever. ETH does not trade, or excuse me, PEPE does not trade as ETH beta. It does not trade one-to-one as ETH. It doesn't need ETH to be strong in order to be strong. It really does not trade like ETH beta. It is like listed on ETH, but it doesn't like go like, hey big bro, are we ready to move? And it doesn't care about that. It just does its own thing. But I think WIF and Sol do trade well together a little bit. Can you check SPX? We be doing those V's, dude. It is unbelievable. Oh my god, I forgot that I did this post. I forgot that I did this post. Jesus. Let's see if I come down to the dailies. That's still on there. Okay, hold on. Let me do this. Yeah, man, that's insane. That's insane. But like, here's where I'm a little bit concerned. These bounces on ES have historically been strong off their corrections, right? And it doesn't mean that they can't set lower lows, right? So like, look at ES last summer, right? It bounced so hard, it literally took out like all these like highs here. It took out a bunch of highs, and then it bled all the way back down to make a lower low. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that's in the realm of possibility. I think 2 summers in a row, it kind of did the same thing. So we'll have to see. Like, this is a super heated bounce. The most bullish scenario, obviously, it doesn't have to make a lower low. I mean, you just kind of retrace back into here and then continue. But yeah, it's kind of sad looking at like ES and then looking at Bitcoin and being like, these are the V shapes we want. And I was joking with some buddies earlier, and I was like, the whole meme of like, Mom, can we get a V shape? Like, we have V shapes at home, and this is the V shape that you have at home. This dog shit. ES pumping hard going into Jackson Hole on a Friday. What could go wrong? Yeah, I mean, I don't follow macro, so I have no idea what is to be discussed at Jackson Hole. Probably something or another about rates. I'm not going to LARP and, you know, say that I understand anything like what they're going to talk about. If he says this, it's bullish. If he says this is bearish, I have no idea. But generally speaking, anytime you get events in markets that get people excited, right? Like Trump speaking at the Bitcoin conference, right? That ends up a local top. Or we're so fearful that Powell's going to say something negative, it almost doesn't even matter what Powell says, that ends up being a bottom. So expectation going into events, if we have bullish expectation going into events, oftentimes it marks tops. If we have super bearish expectations going into events, oftentimes it marks bottoms. So if the sentiment is Powell is going to say something so incredibly bullish on Friday at Jackson Hole, he's going to pump the markets, he's going to lower rates, everything's going to be fucking phenomenal, kumbaya, and he actually does deliver what expectations are, or maybe even exceeds expectations, it could still be a top, because you basically priced in those expectations on the rally. Similarly, when you get bearish events and everyone goes, oh, something fucking terrible is going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, and that day comes, and even if that terrible thing happens, it marks a bottom. Because everyone who wanted to sell expecting terrible things to happen already sold going into the event, and there's no one left to sell at the event. Fuck ETH. I'm too poor to play in that playground. To be honest, ETH is mad cheap right now. I don't know, like, I don't know if it's gonna stay like this, but ETH is incredibly cheap to use right now. Like, I saw Gwei at $1. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but fucking ETH gas was like $1. Last cycle, I did an ETH transaction that cost $450 last cycle in like November at the top. $450. Hi, Doc. Could you please check your DM regarding the clinic Discord? Yelena, if it's asking me why you got kicked, it's because 1,000 members got kicked for inactivity. The prompt for removing people was less than 50 messages over 1 year, or less than 20 messages in like 3 months. So if people aren't like contributing, you know, they just got auto booted. And trust me, there's a lot of people upset because they were just kind of like you know, reading and not contributing, and they're like, man, I use this as such a nice source of information. But I'm like, you know, we kept it open for so long, and now we're just kind of like, there's people in there grinding every day, and they want to just stay grinding and, you know, not have everyone just snooping on everything they read. What are your thoughts on macro and general? Exactly, dude. I think I just covered that. I don't have any knowledge on that. I don't have any knowledge on that. And I'll give you a lesson from experience. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. I knew nothing about macro in 2022. And I kept trying to learn. I kept trying to think about like, okay, I should learn what, you know, I'll watch these FOMCs and I'll read this and I'll learn and I'll watch macro podcasts and I'll try to see what this means and what a Fed pivot means. And, oh, what did Powell sound like? Was he dovish? Was he hawkish? All this. And I was macro psyops during this entire time. And the breaking point for me, I've mentioned this story many times, was all the way down here. People were shitting their pants and going, oh my God, CPI is going to come in at some historic level at 8.9% or something like that. And CPI came in and it was 9.2. It was even higher than everyone's worst fears. And it set a bottom in markets. It set a bottom in ES for multiple months. It set a bottom in Bitcoin for multiple months. So the scariest news set a bottom. So, you know, things that people already knew, we're in a downtrend. I didn't need macro to tell me that. I can just use EMAs to tell me that. I can use market structure to tell me that. I don't need macro to tell me that we're in a massive downtrend, right? And like the news absorption that occurred at those lows was actionable in the reverse sense. It wasn't a reason to sell, it was a reason to buy. One more time, this low right here, this low was where Russia invaded Ukraine. Very, very bad macro event caused a bottom. Things reversed. We didn't need to sell our bags because of this, right? We could have actioned this and bought that news. Similarly over here, right? This is where Israel and Iran went to war. It turned out to be kind of a news absorption bottom and you got recovery, right? So I'd rather use news and macro in that sense of like, are we getting brutalized with bearish news and are we absorbing this news and can I get a long off of this news absorption versus, oh my God, things are so bad, I need to sell, things are going to get worse, macro is so bad, yada, yada. Like I can't understand that, nor do I care about it, nor do I want to action it. Zcash is funding the global macroeconomic recession. You nailed Zcash. GG's to you. Is it still up a lot? Nice. Oh, here's your doodle. Let's run this low and then go up. I always love when I see old tickers that people ask me about on streams. And I'm like, if this happens, you know, do this. And I just don't do it myself. And we come back to it months later and it happens. And I'm like, well, that fucking should have taken that trade. I even had an alert here. I have no excuse. That means this alert went off when that happened. And I still didn't long it. What's the H1 number? H1 daily trend line? 13, 21, 34. You didn't believe me. Here's the thing, Nexus. We trade in so many different ways that you're often not taking my trades and I'm often not taking your trades, but at the end of the day, we can still vibe together. And it don't even matter. That's the beauty of markets, man. We're out here, honestly, all playing a sport, and we're all playing different sports. Some people are playing golf, and some people are playing tennis. At the end of the day, we're all playing sports together on the same playground. I don't know how that metaphor works, but it works. Deal with it. You need to put a little note on your charts to refresh your memory after a few months. No, I agree with you. And I actually do that whenever there are charts that I care about. I personally didn't care about Zcash. That's the reason, really. I'm like, I don't know. So here's the thing. And let me explain to you my thought process here. How much of my capital am I willing to put into Zcash, right? That's a question I have to ask myself. How much am I going to long? How much am I going to size for this 2x? How much conviction do I have in this trade, right? If I'm just taking it as a trade, right? And I'm saying, hey, this is a 1R trade or 2R trade or something like that. But I have no conviction in myself and I'm just taking it just for the sake of trading it. Yeah, that trade hit. It worked out. But at the same time, it was just like any other trade. And I probably took some other trades in July that I had much deeper and higher conviction in that probably printed more P&L for me because those are trades that I was actually looking forward to. Those are my trades, my conviction, versus someone else's trades that is like, hey, doc, check this out, right? Typically, when people give me trades, I'll look at them. But I'm probably not going to copy trade because borrowed conviction trades tend to not work out that well. They just don't, because you're just never going to size appropriately for someone else's conviction, right? Even if you copy trade, you're just like, I'll throw a couple whatever into this. I'll throw some money at this and whatever happens, happens. Who cares, right? But trades that you're dire conviction in, you're going to size the fuck into those and they will print much harder for you. You're not always going to be right, but that's something that you want to stick your neck out for. So you don't trade Zcash, you buy and hold it and sell it for 4 to 8K in a few years. Jesus. 4 to 8K. I'm actually going to do this, dude. All right, we're still going. My man said up to 8K. We need to get 8K on the chart. All right, you guys heard it here first. 4 to 8K Zcash. My boy's calling it. In what time frame? A few years. Sick. And I'm not even fading this call. Like, I don't know what's fundamentally going on with Zcash, but if it's going to 4 to 8K, doesn't really matter if you bought it 16 or 40. I'm pretty sure you're going to be happy with those multiples regardless. Later, Billy. Later. This is one that I have an alert for, which is kind of front running my level. How funny is this? Literally trading up into the wick, front running and reversing. If this at any point down the line slams into 18, I'm probably longing a poo down here. This is a setup I'll be waiting for if and when it sets up. I can scroll down the list a little bit now. We haven't done much in terms of altcoins. PEPE, I'm looking for these equal lows, or at least a run of these two lows, right? It was kind of the same plan for me on a bunch of assets last night. So like I mentioned with Solana, I got the fill on this wick, right? And I was looking for the exact same move on Bitcoin for this wick, which I didn't get and got front run. And I was looking for the exact same thing on PEPE right here, which I didn't get filled on. And it looks like we took this high. That's brutal. So yeah, I think the next natural draw, because this market is chopping around and it's really respecting liquidity. We're just running highs and running lows consistently over the past couple weeks. I would think the next draw in liquidity would be these lows down here. So I'm going to be a little bit patient and probably wait for a couple days to see if something like this plays out and I can get a long down here. What that would also do for me is say that, look, we've broken market structure on this downside. This is our low. This is our up. This is our higher low, right? And then we can go from here to look for a higher high. Maybe not quite this low, but something like this. Jupiter and JTO are coins that I consistently fade for trading opportunities, but they provide some monster bounces sometimes. So I'd be looking to see a reaction on JTO down here around 190 if it's going to bleed out that low. The only way we're going to bleed out this low is if Bitcoin makes that like higher low around 54, 53, Solana loses its range low and daily 200, and then this is going to absolutely get murdered back into these lows as well. But as of right now, let's see if we can make a thesis or if we can find a setup on this guy. Actually, not terrible. So you've run liquidity and you're compressing into the 4-hour trend here. I wouldn't want to kind of action into this compression, but if we come back one more time, I would love to kind of take a similar trade where I'm looking for the higher low in this region with this run being my invalidation and seeing if I can get the compression afterwards. So somewhere down here would be a decent place to try to take this move for reversal on JTO. We'll set some alerts. Come back to this. I really feel, okay, so another little side story here. Back in, I want to say May, I did a tweet and I was like, it was two-pronged. One is, this is like, CT's super loud right now with people bitching, complaining, fighting, arguing, anger, yada, yada, yada. Ego, a lot of ego on the timeline of people just being like, I'm better than you. Oh my God, you didn't buy this shitcoin. You're going to, have fun staying poor forever. A lot of ego on the timeline, a lot of fighting with people like Don Alt and hatred towards Ansem and stuff like that. And I tweeted something out and I'm being like, I've seen this before. This is the like whiny bitch phase of the summertime correction. And next will be like the wasteland phase where everyone kind of disappears. And my streams back in May and June and stuff like that were riddled with people coming in here and being like, can you take a look at this shitcoin? Can you take a look at this shitcoin? Can you take a look at this shitcoin? And my next thesis was kind of just like, that's going to all go away. That's all going to dry up. Everyone is going to get washed and things are going to get really, really quiet again, where people are not going to be looking for their turbo shitters and TA on their turbo shitters every second of the day. And the last part was my replies will probably dry up, where I'm not going to be getting people in my replies being like just community raid shilling their turbo shitcoins, right? And that's been happening a lot less too. So a lot of the ingredients of like market bottom and summertime bottom are really there. Like I said, the last piece of the puzzle are the accumulation ranges. I think that was what I wanted to talk about a little bit and I forgot about. So let's talk about accumulation ranges. I've mentioned this throughout the stream, but last kind of piece of the puzzle here, I think you can make the case that this was an echo bubble, right? Seeing as how hard others and Total 3 and altcoins in general have retraced, like they've pretty much done full retraces, right? The only thing we want to see is this not trade back into here, right? It really doesn't matter. I just want to see some consistent sideways. And even if alts don't pump into the New Year's and like maybe go turbo risk on in Q1, excuse me, maybe if they're just kind of like grinding up and Bitcoin's leading and Bitcoin dominates Q4, that's fine with me as well. And altcoins have their moment in the sunlight, when we reclaim 250 billion. 250 billion was really the point of breakdown both of these times, right? So we tried to hold above 250 in the double bubble part. This is where the devastation of selling occurred. We broke underneath this low, got absolutely hammered, used this void kind of as resistance. This was our kind of like summer lows last time around. Again, 250 failed to hold. This is where the entire altcoin market just absolutely fell apart, right? So I think we're looking for accumulation here, reclaim of 250, and above this is probably where things get absolutely nutty and you get a proper risk on session, right? Probably something like this, right? This is kind of just theory crafting for me on Bitcoin dominance of, 60% has been, it's getting kind of consensus, but people have been looking for 60% since down here. We really are coming up onto this region. So if we do finally lose the weekly trends, right? So this is, Bitcoin dominance has been a massive uptrend since basically the FTX lows. If we do end up losing the weekly trends and dropping back in here, right? I think this is where you get your proper alt season, right? This is Losing weekly trends, Bitcoin dominance breaking down. Bitcoin dominance probably hitting 60%. This will probably coincide with ETH BTC finally bottoming and probably reclaiming like 50 cents, right? Maybe a little bit of an accumulation here, reclaim 50 cents. That would look pretty good. Bitcoin dominance breaking down, and that's probably where others gets turbo, like unbelievably frothy bullish altcoin season, the one that everyone's been looking for years now, probably happens all in cohesion, right? So that's kind of a loose framework for me. I think altcoins are in accumulation right now. I think the downside is minimal at best. If these wicks weren't the lows, maybe revisiting the lows, but really we're just looking for accumulation ranges to form. And this is really clearly visualized on others. So, you know, these weekly trends are going to come down. These weekly trends are going to get flipped. That'll look like a range that was formed. It'll look like a range breakout. You'll probably get bonked once or twice at 250. Once you reclaim this level, it is like we're all going to make it. Like this is we're all going to make it season. Alts go nuts after Bitcoin breaks 100K or so. I think this is where alts go nuts. I don't care where Bitcoin does this move, but this move is going to happen at some point, right? Where Bitcoin breaks out of this range, it goes up. It has a turbo correction. This turbo correction gets bought up. At this moment, you probably want to long alts, because in my opinion, this will be the Bitcoin dominance top. This will be the Bitcoin dominance top. This will be an everything correction, and off these lows, alts are gonna lead. Probably Ethereum's gonna lead. Probably Ethereum BTC's finally bottomed. This will be the moment where you want to bid alts and memes and everything like that. It doesn't really matter if it happens at 100K or 90K or 80K or something like that, but it'll just be like the first mega strong correction after this range breakout. So it'll be similar to this moment right here, this ETF sell the news moment. It'll be like the ETF sell the news moment of the next risk on cycle, because Bitcoin really did lead into here. And this is where altcoins went ham. This is where the trenches went ham. This is where memes went ham. This is where PEPE did a 10x and WIF did a 10x and all that, and meme coin super cycle, and the trenches began in here, and you guys know the rest. AI did their 3, 4, 5x's. Pull up AAVE. Jingo, I can pull up AAVE, but are you sure we want to bull post AAVE? Because if you bull post AAVE, you're topping AAVE. It looks good, man. I don't know why you guys did this change up on me where it was supposed to be Maker and now it's AAVE. But whatever. I guess I gotta trade AAVE now. These are some really ugly levels. That's better. Nice 4-hour candle. Jesus. Complete flat bottom up only. Nice shakeout and just turbo send. Is this where you want to be coming into the stream and being like, pull up AAVE, doc? Is this where you want to do it at high time frame resistance plus a run of the yearly high? Hi, Fayaz. What's up, man? Hey, Doc, Bitcoin looks good for a move back to 61K. Price is now rebalance and put in a reversal on low time frames. Yeah, I talked a lot about Bitcoin earlier in the stream, and I am bullish this week as well. And I talked a lot about how kind of bitter I was that I got front run on my bids this morning. I woke up at 3 a.m. to try to bid Bitcoin. The only one that I got filled on was Solana. And I really, really wanted to long Bitcoin down here, but didn't get filled. But I do think this structurally looks okay. And I if you want to go back in the stream, wait a few hours, or maybe wait till tomorrow if you care. And there'll be timestamps on the stream, and you can come back and see my thoughts on Bitcoin. I really don't want to repeat myself. For people that were already here, they don't want to hear me say it like 3 more times. A poo community stronger than ever, even though price lower. Yeah, dude, I was shocked as well. So my friend Glass did a post on like, just for fun. He was like shit posting, and he's like, "Oh, just come after cults when their coins are down bad." And I was like, "You should try a poo next." And he's like, "I don't want to do that because their community is max autistic, and they completely raided our shit." And I'm thoroughly shocked that they're still like thriving, even though I think their coin is like just 80 million market cap. It's really down bad, really down bad, but they're thriving. Two different ways to look at a poo, by the way. There's either this range or the Bybit perps chart. But yeah, man, I like betting on cults. You guys know that I'm bullish on this coin, even though it's gotten just bodied. The saving grace for me is that I actually bought this down here, so I'm okay. I did take profits, not perfectly. I think I sold like somewhere near a local bottom down here, and then just kind of a little bit just chopping it up around here. It hasn't been like, it wasn't great, like perfect execution on my entries or on my exit on a poo. I did trade around this a few times in this range, and my read was off a few times on this. But nonetheless, with this being like 80% down over a week, I do think this is opportunity if you want to believe in like a thesis and take a chance and have your invalidation basically set at 0. This is an 80% nuke in 11 days. So if you're buying this, you basically just put your invalidation at 0. Like it's let the coin go to 0. Alts go nuts after Bitcoin breaks 100K or so would be my bet. That would really bring everyone's attention. Yeah, maybe. Pull-ups, push-ups. Please let it be top. I need it to come back to 108. Why did I not long it? Gensler news, but it's BS. Go on Bitcoin, you know you wanna. Are we pumping again? You guys are super stoked on like 1% moves. It's incredible. Really good move, man. My squiggly was almost goated. I promise I'll stop coping about this now, but almost goated. If you had to choose one, either a poo or Wojak, what are you picking? Oh, a poo, 100%. A poo, 100%. It has that cult community with no cult leader that I love. I think there is like a dude that is like kind of a cult leader, but I think that's more bearish. If he's a whale, he should just sit in the shadows. And honestly, I'd be really happy if he was dumping. Like if the whale was selling and caused that 80% move down, that's the most bullish thing I can imagine. But yeah, if you're buying it off the thesis that PEPE is going to flip SHIB and everyone is going to be looking for the beta play, and PEPE is listed on Bybit and a poo is listed on Bybit perps. So what is everyone going to buy and long when they're feeling FOMO on PEPE? What are they going to do? They're not going to buy WIF. They're not going to buy a dog coin. They're literally going to buy the frog coin that's listed on Bybit perps, right? So if they're going to buy the Bybit perps listed frog beta coin, this is probably going to do really, really well at some point in the cycle. That's the bet. The bet is it goes to 0 or it pulls like a 10x and hits the top 100 spot because of PEPE FOMO. Wojak's just a great internet meme, and I've talked about that kind of thesis to death, so I think people are tired of talking about it or hearing about it. Do you think alts already bottomed versus Bitcoin as they usually do on big dumps, i.e. August 5th? I don't really make a habit of looking at alt Bitcoin charts other than like Sol. I look a lot at like Sol BTC and Sol ETH. But alts in general, I mean, ask me what alt you're specifically looking at, because I think all alt BTC charts are literally just going to be bleeders that look like this over the last like 9 months. I don't think there's many alt BTC charts that have been in uptrends other than like Solana. That's probably the only one that's been in a consistent uptrend. But nonetheless, I think alt USD charts are very close to bottoms if their bottom is not in already. If this is not the bottom on like a say, and this isn't the start of an accumulation range and it just continues bleeding, man, I think this is like your range. And you're bullish on this when weeklies are reclaimed. I'm going to stop repeating myself now. Some of you guys are really bored of hearing me say that, I guarantee you. Yeah, the Apu cult's wild. All right, boys. Should we call the stream there? ACX BTC. Wild. What is this coin? Hey, well done. There's one. Consistent uptrend against Bitcoin all year. Listed on MEXC. Apparently we've covered this coin in the past. Man, this is so illiquid though. If daily candles look like this, you know it's a liquid. Yeah. Like, what is this? The open and the close of a 4-hour candle has a gap. If the open and a close of a 4-hour candle has a gap like this, you know there's like 10 people in the order books. Where's Cass? I wanted to cover Cass. I think out of every coin this summer, this has probably been the strongest one. I know we talked about Solana, but this is probably the strongest one. This is held. Let me find a longer term chart. This is held the weekly trend for over a year now. Look at this monster. Unreal. I don't have any Cass. I sold all on like the Binance listing, but you know, with it basically flipping the place that I sold, which was resistance for a long time, and coming into the weekly trend right here after giving this phenomenal bounce, this could be the higher low, right? So how would I play this? I'd be looking, let's see the daily trend. It's actually nice that we're looking at this now. Yeah, I would want to speculate a little bit late now, but longs on Cass from here don't look bad into the daily trend. Let me clean up some of these lines. Those are some equal lows. Yeah. Okay. So here's the play. If this gets run, I'm taking a long on Cass. If this comes down one more time and runs these equal lows, I'll be long on Cass. And I'll be looking for like a run of this high. Like a turbo run. TP1 would be the point of breakdown. TP2 would be that high. Let's see. Set an alert right here. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'd like to take this. I think on high time frame this looks really good. You're holding the weekly trend, you got a massive buyback after the capitulation, and you're flipping kind of the Binance listing highs that were kind of like deviated and rejected a whole bunch, and you're holding above here now. Really not bad. to position on CAS here. What an insane chart, dude. I agreed. This is like, I mean, everyone's looking for the Cardano of this cycle. I think CAS is the Cardano of this cycle. Thanks, Ravi. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, I think the Cardano of this cycle is like slapped everyone in the face for a year now. And I wouldn't be surprised if this just continues marking up. This also looked really congested and ugly last year too, right? Going into Q4, it really looked like it was like getting ready to maybe distribute. It was like running highs repeatedly. I thought it was going to break down. I was excuse me. I was spot long CAS from here, and I actually sold my spot CAS like somewhere on this breakdown, and I had to buy it back higher. I actually got turbo bearish on CAS somewhere like super late. And then when it reclaimed, I was like, I'm going to just pay the stupid tax and I'm going to buy higher than where I sold because I don't want to miss this monster. I was wrong. My idea was incorrect that it was kind of like topped. And I'm so fortunate that I bought this back. So it's kind of mirroring the same price action. This is really not, I'm getting like FOMO on CAS just talking about this with you guys, wanting to position here again. This is probably something I'm going to action over the next few days. Probably check some charts on CT. I'll probably post something on CAS again. It's been a long time. But I'm really happy with the decision making because I avoided all of this chop. I like rotated my capital out of CAS at the right time. November of last year, man. If I was still in CAS and it was still trading at the same price a year later, I would neck holding this asset for a year. Like all that opportunity cost. So buying it back a little bit higher may not be a bad idea. KRC20 launching soon, meme coins, stables, etc. I'm almost positive none of you have idea what Caspa is about to do. Yeah, possible, man. Very, very possible. You have such a clean, like, spot-based high time frame invalidation of like dropping below 14. This is your risk, right? Your reward is obviously new price discovery after all of this kind of reaccumulation. Very nice, like, risk-defined approach. I'm glad I looked at this. I was almost going to stop streaming, and then I looked at CAS. PENDLE's also one that I wanted to talk about. So, PENDLE was giga-strong. I think the fundamentals have changed. Jingo, if you're still here in chat, you can let me know. I think something happened where, like, the TVL basically fell off a cliff. Like, the incentive structure for holding PENDLE sucks now or something. So it may not be as strong, but nonetheless, like, trading where it's trading, running this low, forming kind of like a dolly right here. If you put in a double bottom and we reclaim these weekly trends, I think this looks like a really good long. This looks like a really good swing long on PENDLE. Because this was a monster too. Like, this marked up 15x. 15x, and we're down probably like 80%. Yeah, 76%. Pretty par for the course for altcoins right now. Another accumulation range, reclaim weeklies, and I think PENDLE's going to be a monster again. One problem with macro generally, it is riddled with idiotic perma bears. I agree with that, man. People are always so bearish on macro, man. Like, no one is ever a macro bull. They're always just talking about like the downside and macro and downside and macro. And meanwhile, they've been doing this for like 20 years while SPX has been up for 100 years, right? SPX is just literally up only. Every macro scare is an opportunity to buy and bet on America. Meanwhile, they're just so concerned with macro. Like, this to us in crypto is nothing, right? What's a 30% drawdown? Who cares? Boomers are hypersensitive. Yeah, PENDLE rugged somehow. Yeah, I remember hearing that. PENDLE did rug somehow. Like, the TVL went to 0. The incentive structure, like, changed for holding PENDLE. So I'll have to look into that before ever taking a position. But the chart-wise, it looks attractive from a risk-reward standpoint. I've reduced it down to basically global liquidity that matters. Seems to be a good model that's actually predictive and useful. I have a friend, Philippe, who is really knowledgeable on macro, and he's been parroting the global liquidity thesis for like 2 years now, basically since the FTX lows. Like, he got giga long on like everything, like equities and everything at those lows, because his idea was that global liquidity was going to pick up. Like, that was a basic fundamental thesis for his to get giga long all of everything. So I think he's been pretty on the point. I've heard this global liquidity thing being talked about a lot recently. So shout out Philippe for being on that ball before it was talked about. Doc, how much do you think the presidential election outcome really affects crypto? None. That's probably a hot take, but I think none. I don't think it matters if Dems or Republicans win. I really don't care. I don't think crypto cares. Crypto doesn't have a political bias. Crypto is crypto. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't care. A fundamental ethos of Bitcoiners is everything bad that happens to Bitcoin is good for Bitcoin. Every stress test is good for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to thrive and survive. It really does not matter what happens on a landscape. Like, everything is a pressure test, whether it's recession, whether it's macro, whether it's rates, whether it's war, presidents, political legislation. Everything is still going to be a positive pressure test for Bitcoin. Every drawdown is an opportunity for Bitcoin to show resilience. So I don't think it matters. Maybe there's some short-term volatility. Maybe there's some short-term uncertainty if, like, Kamala, because, like, that's like the consensus thing right now. It's like, oh, Kamala gets elected, that's bad for crypto. I think anyone that wants to sell their crypto because she's going to get elected is going to sell their crypto, and then it won't matter again. Just think it was big. Oh, so you're talking about PENDLE here. Just think it was big unlocks, expiries of tokens that had 1-year maturities, point farming, meta dying a bit with soft drugs like Renzo. Okay, gotcha. Based. Trump heads hate to hear it. Yeah, I don't think it matters, dude. I think CT shit posts a lot about Trump. They're just not going to care again. But I will tell you, having traded the equities market during this bull run, like, I came from equities, there was a legitimate Trump pump. This man, for some reason, would just do random press conferences, like, after the market would close. Like, the market would be down on the day, and Trump would come out, and he would just start bull posting, like, fucking Dow Jones, and just being like, everything's going up and whatever, like, in his Trump way. And markets would literally react and bounce. Like, there was a legitimate, like, Trump pump. Like, oh, he's coming to speak. Everyone buy calls. Like, Trump's going to be talking at 2 p.m. And the market would literally react to that. And I know it was the regime we were in. I know it was COVID. I know the dynamics. But I miss those Trump pumps. And I think to some degree they will be back if he gets elected again. But again, like, Trump is not influencing this bull market. His speeches and his press conference does not, like, influence the macro, like, trend of ES, but they are fun intraday and stuff like that. So similarly, I think some low time frame noise with presidential stuff, but nothing monumental high time frame. Bitcoin dominance to the moon if Harris gets elected, though. Money printer Burr, regardless of who wins. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't have a take there. Regarding Bitcoin dominance to presidential elections, I don't really have a take there. Hey, Doc, what impact do you think the growing regulation of crypto will have on the political landscape and individual financial freedom? Damn, heavy question. What do you think the growing regulation of crypto will have on the political landscape? Here's the way I see it, man. I think I'm going to take the low IQ, like, left curve thesis and just say that people are looking for ways to keep up with inflation. They're looking for ways to get out of their basically, like, death sentence of being in the rat race of 9-to-5s, and they're looking for a place to gamble. And this is not like my thesis, a well thought out thesis by a lot of smarter traders and investors, but I don't think they're going to regulate crypto to death, right? I think ultimately everyone's going to understand that this is another avenue and a financial asset that we could milk, right? People are very greedy, even in TradFi. People are looking for things to pump. The Bitcoin ETFs are another excuse for TradFi to try to make money and milk a volatile asset. right? They're going to find a way to grab a piece of the pie, which is what they did, right? And I think that's only going to grow regardless of political affiliation and regulations. I think everything is pretty much set up to be bullish in the terms of human greed, right? Everyone wants to extract value from new emerging markets, and COVID really put crypto on the map, right? That was the moment where everyone on earth really heard about crypto, whether they still bullish on it or not, it really doesn't matter. And I think that was the idea for a lot of people to be like, okay, how do we get a piece of this pie, right? And after the washout of 2022 of the entire industry and FTX and everything like that, you know, TradFi is looking to take advantage of that. I don't think that's a perfect, you know, response to your question, but those are kind of my thoughts on it. Thanks, man. That's kind of you, Maverick. You have 10 Gs. You're going for memes or new strong alts. 10 Gs. This state of the cycle. New memes or strong alts? I think you go strong alts first and rotate into memes. I didn't have a lot of capital at the FTX lows, and I was very fortunate where the market was, but I started with Solana, Heavy, CAS. These are big winners for me down at these lows, right? I had spot Bitcoin down here as well. And I just rotated down the risk curve as new opportunities opened up. So if you're starting with 10 Gs, I think it's underrated how important it is just to get those initial wins to elevate your capital. And I think going super crazy risk on from 10 Gs opens you up to just wiping out all your capital. Because even if you lose like 50% of it and you go from 10 to 5, it's hard to dig out of those holes, man. You just got to take immense risks. So honestly, I think the smart way to do it with everything reset right now is really look for places where you can get really high quality trades to grow your capital from 10 to 15 or 10 to 20 or something like that. Take the really obvious trades, take the high quality trades, amplify your capital that way, and then start diversifying into riskier things that could give you those 1 to 20 risk to rewards. Like a poo right now. If I had 10 Gs, I would not go all in into a shitcoin, a low cap shitcoin, because that carries so much risk. The reward is super high, right? If I had 10 Gs right now, I'd be looking to do two things. This is me personally. One is to develop a skill set in the market that allows me to extract value regardless of asset prices. And that to me was trading, right? I learned that in the 2022 like bear market, right? Or 2021, right? Pretty much. And this is a little history lesson for me. I was very left side Dunning-Kruger, right? I thought I knew everything because markets were just going up, right? And I got humbled pretty hard on this nuke, right? This nuke right here really opened my eyes to like, I don't know how to extract value in this market if it's not going up only. And I set out to be like, I don't care if the market's going up or down. I need to build a skill set that's going to allow me to extract value. And to me, that was like actively trading. So I developed that skill set over the last couple of years, right? That was really important to me. It didn't matter how much money I had to my name. I was like, I need to find a way where I can take 20K to 21K to 22K to 23K and have a way to build capital outside of my job in markets. And then number two is find a way to amplify that capital in the safest way possible. So down here, right, when we got the 3AC capitulation, what did we have going on in markets? The number one narrative in markets was ETH merge, right? We had a narrative-based rally in markets. What did I do? I just bought a fuck ton of spot ETH. Spot ETH, or ETH did almost a 2x off those lows, right? ETH went from $1,000 to like 1,900, right? It did 2x. I didn't capitalize all of this 2x. I think I got like 60%, but I got a 60% capital return basically just playing the simplest thesis in the market, which was be long ETH going into the ETH merge, right? That was a big win for me, like amplifying my capital by 60%. And I just continued this basis of like, what is the most obvious trade in the market that's going to help me magnify my capital? And that was spot Bitcoin. And then that was also spot Solana. So I think the approach to the markets when you're starting with a low amount of capital is, where's my skill set? What can I build? How can I continue adding capital outside of the market's control? Number one. And then number two, where is the most obvious place from a risk reward standpoint to place my capital to grow it that is not taking maximum risk? And then once you build more and more capital, you have a little bit of more disposable capital, of what I would call it, of like, I can put 1% or 5% of my capital into this coin and look for a 20x. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay. But if you do that right off the bat, I don't think that's a proper way. I don't think hyper gambling off the beginning is a smart decision. So that's my take on that. Probably a good clip there for Paragon. Lear, if you're watching, it's probably a decent one to clip. Probably a lot of people have that question of like, I have 10 Gs, what do I do? What do you think the most obvious trade in the market is right now? For me, it's been one thesis that has dominated my mind since April of last year. And that is that dog coins are memes that no one uses. Doge is a meme that no one uses. SHIB is a clone of that meme that no one cares about. The most used meme in Discord, in my life, in the internet, in forums, in 4chan is PEPE. And PEPE is very closely tied with the lore of crypto and lore of CT. And it deserves a spot in the top 20 coins, and it deserves a flip SHIB. So even with the way PEPE looks right now, my strongest, highest conviction bet once again is going to be spot PEPE into the SHIB flippening. I think that's the most obvious trade. Now, the counterpoint or the downside is that this, in my opinion, is going to take much longer to play out than people think. I don't think this happens until Q1, Q2 of next year. I don't think it's happening in Q4. I don't think it's happening this year. I think it's going to happen April, May, June of next year, something like that, if it happens. That's a very long time preference to have. But I do think spot PEPE and chill outperforms people that are active in the trenches over the next year. I think very few amount of people are going to be able to outperform potentially a 10x. I don't know if it'll do a 10x. Let's call it a 3, 4, 5x. I don't know. Like, we look down on 3, 4, 5x's, but everyone really LARPs, man. And the people that actually run it up give it all back. So not many people have the skill set to continue to compound wins and take a win and avoid a drawdown. Maybe they take some and cash out and find a new thesis and long that and cash out and find a new thesis. Very few people have the ability to do this. Most people are better off finding one very strong thesis and running with that. I think another way, and this is probably less talked about, a way to run up capital is probably with new chains. So like Monad is coming out. So if Monad has opportunities to airdrop farm and do LPs and have a shitcoin scene and whatever, I think there's going to be infinite opportunities on that chain if it's going to flourish, right? Monad token itself probably won't be super bullish, but I think the opportunities on that chain, if it has like a lot of dApps and a lot of things to farm, could be a massive wealth creation tool for a lot of people. So I think lock into like new chains and stuff like that. Another obvious trade that's probably not going to be well received by you guys is probably just going to be ETH BTC. I think ETH BTC makes new all-time highs this cycle, and I think spot ETH is not a terrible investment to have down at these lows. I honestly, like, I was in the assumption, like, January of this year that ETH BTC was bottomed once we ran this low. I've been wrong so far. But these are kind of the obvious trades. I also think Solana Bitcoin probably puts in new all-time highs. I think this chart eventually puts in new all-time highs. So I think that's a very strong thesis as well. These are just the obvious trades that can help you amplify your capital. But a lot of people don't want to take the 2x's and 5x's. They want the 100x. And I think the best way to 100x your capital is probably not in one coin, but in, you know, several 2x's and several 5x's over 2 years and 3 years and 4 years. Not really trying to, you know, some people get lucky and they buy whiff super low and it does 100x and they hold the entire way and they have high conviction. It's very rare, but some people are able to do that. What do you think about PEPE with all-time high before the end of the year? No, I don't think so. I think next year. I don't think this year. All right, boys. Let's wrap it up there. We've been going for 2 hours. I'm getting tired as well. I appreciate you guys all for hanging out with me today. Last thing I'll leave you with is if you want, you know, more education and stuff from me, feel free to check out Paragon. There'll be a link in the description box below. That's really where I'm taking my like dedicated education and stuff nowadays. I used to trade super publicly on the timeline and just, you know, share all my trades on CT and stuff. But I kind of just, you know, trade with the boys in Paragon nowadays and take all my educational content there. So there's a good library. I think I have like 5 to 10 hours of education already. Definitely over 5 hours of education in there already. But that'll just keep growing. So feel free to check that out if you're interested. That'll be my only shill. But thank you, boys. Take care, and I'll see you next week.